All I can say right now is, wow, the passion in here is crazy. Wow. I just want to say, UFC has a new MVP.
His strikes are not just attacks, but a true work of art. His moves is not just technique, it's a unique war dance. His name is Michael Venom Page, and he challenges the time itself. He is a virtuoso of combining fists and feet, turning a fight into a vicious spectacle. An artist for whom an octagon is a scene and every round is an act of unpredictable drama. Even though he is already considered a veteran, he fights as if time works for him. His technique is mad science, and his experience is a weapon that can't be suppressed by youth and ambitions.
Crazy shit like that right there. His ability to close the distance, and look how quickly he gets out of dodge. He's just so used to that style of people leaping at him and getting out of the way.
Get comfortable and grab some snacks. We're going to have a long and detailed talk about one of the most spectacular showmen in the world of mixed martial arts. You're about to see Michael Venom Page and his full story. Before watching this documentary, don't forget to hit the like button and leave a comment below. We will greatly appreciate it. Have a great time.
My God.
Childhood, youth, and start of his career.
Well, I have a Mexican restaurant in the UK. Yeah, you gotta come.
You have a Mexican restaurant?
Yeah.
Dude, who are you?
In mixed martial arts, like in any other sport that requires interaction with the media, there always was a high demand for vivid fights who are ready to die for the sake of spectacular show and attraction of fans. Michael Page, with his outrageous style and oftentimes provoking image, is exactly that type of an athlete, and he never shied away from that. But first things first, our hero today was born on April 7th of 1987. He was born in London into a big family. The Brit began grasping his amazing world of martial arts when he was 3 years old. And it's not surprising if we consider the fact that his father was a famous kickboxing coach who also did kung fu, while his mother practiced wushu and was a fighter as well.
To be fair, I've always been a person, and even in my previous area, I was always a person that I could say hello to absolutely everybody and just get on with what I need to get on with. Like I didn't feel the need to be involved. When I was younger, I used to run around with some of the kids, and the second they started going off to do certain things, I was like, boy, I have to go, you know, I have to go. And they were cool about it. They always knew, not all of them, a lot of them knew I did like the kickboxing and stuff anyway, so I could just make an excuse. I'd be like, look, I gotta go train or whatever. It kept me on track, and I had a different kind of social group, and a lot of them was older than me at the time, to look up to. And I knew if I got into trouble, not only do I have to, I'm gonna be answering to my mum and my dad being my instructor, you know what I mean, my mum being my mum, full stop, she's serious.
This exact combination of all these techniques is the reason why MVP fights in such an unorthodox style. To say that Michael was training very hard and with full commitment is an understatement. He thought that it was the right decision to follow the footsteps of his family, which in its time took the fighting path as well. Just so you understand, by the age of 8, he began performing at international competitions, and 5 years later, he transitioned to the professional sport. And by 23, Page achieved absolutely everything there was in kickboxing, and these are not empty words. For example, in 2010 at one of the tournaments, Venom managed to have 22 bouts, performing in 5 weight classes and winning every single one of them. Do you even understand what it means to fight 22 times in one tournament? Of course, not every opponent was of elite level, but one still has to have the capacity to fight so many times in such a short time frame, let alone get the victory. Speaking about a big family, our hero has 9 brothers and sisters, 3 of which are adopted, and half of them achieved significant results in kickboxing. Brothers Kalen, Jamie, Curtis, and sister Safina became the champions of the world.
the kids, they don't show as much respect anymore. It'll be little things. We had respect for the older guys in our year. Yeah, we used to have like little mess about fights and all of that, but we had general respect for them.
So, if you, just like us, asked yourself what formed this character, here's a clear and definitive answer. From the day he was born, Michael Page started grasping striking mastery and then patiently and persistently fine-tuned it for a long period of time. Unfortunately, Wikipedia and other open sources don't present that much information about his fights, only general stuff. And it says that Venom was polishing his unorthodox style before stepping onto the big arena in almost every fight. He was developing and drilling his signature tricks, feints, peculiar mannerisms, toying with the opponent's taunting style, combination of combat moves and a dance. In other words, he was searching for his own formula of success, testing it in kickboxing before transitioning to MMA. And since we mentioned it, it's time to get to the next chapter. But first, take a look at this bit from Joe Rogan.
Look at him here. You watch what Page can do. Look at that. Look at it. But he's hilarious too. He just stands there, looks off in the distance as the referee stops the fight.
Professional sport and mixed martial arts.
When I first came into the MMA world, I had literally been doing MMA for 6 months. I think just breaking 6 months. And I was injured for a couple of months of that because I was supposed to have a fight after I think 4 months. And then I injured myself just before basically. And so I'm a baby in the sport. Obviously my kickboxing was obviously, I've done it for years, so that's what I knew, but I was an absolute baby. And then the second I had that fight, obviously I won in spectacular fashion, but everyone was like, well, he should fight this person and he should fight that person. He can never do this to this person. And I'm like, but I'm a baby in the sport. I don't know what you was expecting me to do, yeah? I don't know what he was expecting me to, to do. Like, I was supposed to just jump in and fight GSP because of that one thing. I would tell everybody there and then I would get destroyed because I'm a baby in MMA and there was so much for me to learn. And my opponents that have come have just been step-by-step improvements for me to at the stage I was. And like I said, I'll get to a point where I feel like I can fight everybody, because there's not that much left. Obviously, there's always things you can improve on, but there's not much left for me to learn.
Effervescent speech, enough said. Just imagine this, how good the prospect from kickboxing or combat sports in general had to be that at the very beginning of his path, he was compared to such figures as Georges St-Pierre. In our opinion, it doesn't require any further explanation, everything is clear. Luckily for us, we managed to find one of Michael Page's first performances not related to MMA, and we will show it to you right now. It took place on August 18 of 2012 at UC MMA 29. The opponent of our hero was Jefferson George.
Not now, but right now, the one and only MVP. I'm gonna break these hits down for you. Me hitting you, you hitting the floor, and the ambulance hitting 60. This is the super fight title. And you remember, you're fighting the one and only MVP. MVP. MVP.
What can we say? The image of Page we have right now already manifested itself back then, even at small arenas. Michael has long found his purpose, to be the most stylish, vivid, unpredictable, and outrageous fighter. By the way, Venom never hid the fact that he went to conquer the new industry with the goal to make money. He knew that with his creativity and skills he acquired in kickboxing, he would be able to take his career to another level and build a great legacy which would stay in history for years to come. So, a signature walkout dance of the Brit already hinted to the viewers of what was going to happen in the cage. And by the way, the fight between these two was for the title. The welterweight championship was up for grabs, which served as an additional motivation for our hero. Just listen to this crowd. The fight has not even started, but everybody screamed, "Wow." Such energy from the fans can't leave any fighter indifferent, you got to agree. And the fight begins. A signature side stance of Page draws all the attention in the world. A lightning-fast lunging attack staggers Jefferson and Venom starts using his trademark taunts. The opponent wants to pay him back, but the Brit immediately separates and gets right under his skin. With every second, our hero accelerates more and confuses the mind of poor George, who was in agony from not understanding what was happening. Page used spinning kicks, axe kicks, tornado kicks, and all sorts of stuff. Michael's opponent gets annoyed and he desperately tries to catch a smiling bully, but only puts himself in a trap. He doesn't notice that every attack drains his energy and he starts to become more tired and angry. Soon, he became so enraged that it caused a cognitive malfunction. While Page was just having fun because he knew that his tactic worked perfectly and everything went according to the plan. While commentators praise our hero's talent during the break, the screen shows highlights and Page's opponent with his team frantically thinks of what they should do. Here comes the second round, the final one for Jefferson. Sorry for the spoiler. MVP adds more moves and feints to his mental attacks, which overload the brain of an already perplexed George even more. Venom's timing and sense of rhythm are levels above the efforts of his opponent. He easily batters him in every sequence, inexorably getting closer to the moment of triumph. George got so confused that he forgot that it was a kickboxing bout, not MMA, which means that clinches are not allowed. And closer to the end of the second minute comes the most beautiful moment in the entire clash. At first, Page pretends to be wobbled and then slumps Jefferson out cold with a 1-2. The crowd explodes with ovations. The commentators can't hide their delight in their voices. Michael Page gets to his family with a win and feels very happy.
Again, I just want to correct everyone. I'm not trying to be cocky, it's just a style that I came from. I've got all my point scoring students and instructors all up there, make some noise. They know me inside out. I'm not out here, I'm out here to entertain and win fights. It's just the fight I'm working on right now, to be honest. It's being long range.
Okay.
That's it. It's just about being long range, getting in and out, keeping safe. Obviously, it will come to it when I'm not going to be able to do that. That's when I'm going to adjust. But for now, if this is what's going to work for me, and it is a fight style that I have had previous, it's not something I come in here to try and show off. Yeah. I do have a persona that likes to entertain. I like to be in the spotlight, I like to entertain. But my style is my style. If you look back 2000, go even further back and you'll see my hands are down. I've always fought this sort of way.
Okay, we're done with the brief introduction. Now, let's get to the detailed overview of Michael Page's career in mixed martial arts. Venom's debut happened a bit earlier than the fight we just watched, and as Page already said himself, it was his initiative to start from the very bottom and respective opponents to gradually gain experience and develop in a proper way. On February the 4th of 2012, the prospect debuted at UC MMA 26, where he clashed with his countryman in the face of Ben Dishman.
Michael Venom Page, I'm 24 years old, fighting out of London Street Fighters. Like I said, thanks for coming down, guys. I'm going to do my best in there, you know I will. Ben Dishman, tonight, my fist is going to make love to your face.
It's so funny to watch how Dishman naively decided to catch Venom off guard with a takedown attempt. He decided to trick a man who is a trickster himself. But jokes aside, it was the only thing Page should expect because Ben was not a fool. He knew that he was not on par with Michael Page in terms of striking and should neutralize his strongest trait as soon as possible. But the thing was, the difference in their levels was too big for him to really take the Brit down to the ground. This time, our hero did not waste much time to humiliate his opponent. He stopped him with a quick tornado kick.
Spinning kick. Oh, that is unbelievable.
But the most fascinating and eye-catching thing was his reaction to victory. Page stood motionless in theatrical fashion after the strike, as if it was supposed to be that way. The referee did not tempt fate and stopped the fight, awarding MVP a TKO victory in his debut. Heaven knows what's more exciting than the victories themselves is our hero's way of celebrating them. It's like an eighth wonder of the world, no less.
Next to St. Paul, London Street Fight is the place to be. As you can see, I just proved that. And again, thank you guys for coming out to support.
The next performances of the highly promising talent took place at UC MMA 27, which happened 2 months later on April 7th. Due to the fact that Venom's opponent failed to make weight, the fight was held at a catchweight.
Not now,
But right now, the one and only MVP is back. Since my last fight, I've been related to Anderson Silva. I'm the one and only MVP. Since my last fight, I've been related to John Jones. I'm the one and only MVP. So I want my supporters to remember this. Let it be known, I'm the one and only MVP. You're a big guy, you got a lot of muscles, impressive. But can you tense your face? I'm about to find out now. Not now, right now.
So, another festival of madness kicked off. A menacing side stance of Page begins to take over the octagon. The very first lunging attack lands right on a target and beefy Bernard starts panicking. He wanted to pay him back as quickly as possible, rushed headfirst at his opponent but lost balance and went down on the canvas. Miguel doesn't know what to do. The whole game plan he and his team worked on prior to the fight falls apart. He simply catches up to MVP and presses him against the fence. However, he can't do anything efficient from this position. Soon they separate. As Bernard stands in one place, Page takes the initiative in his hands. He tries to catch him with a jumping spinning kick but slips and finds himself on the ground. Miguel can't believe his luck and lays on top of him in hopes to come up with something. However, it doesn't lead him to anything successful apart from a loss from an instant armbar. The second consecutive victory for our hero and another stoppage, though not in Michael's typical style. That's the present MVP gifted himself on his birthday.
Seriously, I can't even explain. This is like the best 25th birthday you can ever spend. Yeah, thank you guys for coming, man. Seriously, the support is crazy.
After celebrating his 25th birthday, Michael Page got back to the training process. He had some difficulties with finding an opponent, so his return to the cage was a bit delayed. Luckily, the prospect managed to perform in November of 2012 at an event in India called Super Fight League 7, and the opponent of our hero was Haitham El Sayed. What can we say? Even despite the fact that he competed in foreign territory without his home crowd, which was ready to follow their hero to the very end, Venom remained the same. As always, MVP began to take over the situation and space around him. He started with provocations in his best traditions, which baited Sayed for throwing low kicks. After deftly dodging them, Page immediately utilized his boxing and stormed his head with vicious combinations. Haitham thought that he managed to push this sneering face to the corner and attack from there, but the reality was ruthless to him. A minute later, a precise straight slumped the Indian, knocking him down bad. With the same shot, our hero cut the poor guy and took a step back, limiting himself to feints and making his opponent react, while El Sayed's face was getting covered in blood. Closer to the end of the second minute, another sudden attack changed the center of gravity in Haitham's body. The further action can be called voluntary surrender. In the end, the referee paused the fight, seeing the Indian fighter's helplessness and his bloodied face. The doctor examined him and did not allow him to continue, and we believe that deep down he was happy about it. That's how Michael Page secured his third professional victory via TKO. Road to Bellator.
So I was watching, so by the way, huge fan. I love watching you fight. Not because you come from a karate background, but you're just pretty to watch, man.
Thank you.
You're a cerebro fighter, and you got fighters out there that just fight like rock'em sock'em robots, you know what I mean? You're beautiful. I don't like to watch fights, to be honest with you.
I'm the same. I don't really watch too much.
I fight, but I don't like to watch a fight unless there's somebody like this guy fighting. I'm checking it out.
As many of you might know, the bigger part of our hero's fighting path in professional MMA took place in Bellator. Michael Page was signed at the end of 2012, seeing that this showman had a potential to become a huge star. On March 21st of 2013, this beast entered the octagon at the 93rd event to debut against Ryan Sanders. We genuinely hope that you already felt out what this monster is capable of, so you won't be too surprised of what is going to happen right now. Boom! 10 seconds.
That is it! A one-punch knockout win for Michael Page!
That's the exact time MVP needed to successfully join Bellator, stopping his opponent with a one-punch knockout. What can be better?
I'm loving it out here. I wish I could have done a lot more and shown, put in a bit more of a performance. But I've done the job, and I'll be back here again.
We feel obligated to clarify one detail. At the moment of signing a contract with Bellator, Page still had one fight left on the contract with SFL. He had to perform in India at another event to complete the contract, and he managed to do so on April the 12th. He shared the octagon with the Egyptian Ramdan Mohammed. The very first deadly attack caught Michael's opponent in the very beginning, but that wasn't enough to knock Mohammed off balance. And the Egyptian wasn't a timid type himself. He tried to respond to Venom's taunt with his own, which was pretty entertaining to watch. But that was the only thing the athletes had in common, because Ramdan was far less skillful than his sporty vis-a-vis. All shots of this guy were missing, while Page was feeling him out and letting him throw air balls, figuring that he was getting tired. Eventually, this fussing went to the ground, but we have to note that the initiator of that was the Brit himself. And what else was left for him to do rather than choke Mohammed out and make him tap? The fight was stopped at the 3 minutes and 48-second mark, and MVP easily secured his 5th victory in his professional career. This time, Venom took a rather long break, 13 months. On May 17th of 2014, this bully returned to the cage for another portion of adrenaline and cheers from the crowd. He performed at Bellator 120, clashing with Ricky Rainey.
Sound like Macaulay Culkin. Like, no, it's crazy. Just to hear about it, that I was going to be on the show, not even on the pay-per-view. I was already excited because I knew the kind of fights that they already had lined up. So I was like, yeah, okay, it's gonna be a good one to come back to. Then they told me I'm gonna be kicking off the pay-per-view, and that was just like, yeah, it just blew my head, man. So I just want to go out there and show them why that they made the right decision putting me there.
Based on the footage we have on the internet, from the very start of the fight, Rainey did everything in his power to get in close range to at least have an opportunity to graze his opponent circling around the cage. MVP, in turn, was sticking to the exact same scheme, actively moved, taunted the American, and got on his nerves from a distance. Page literally mocked Ricky for almost the entire first round, and when there were 30 seconds left until the bell, he dropped him with a huge right hand and stood still. The referee figured that there was no point in letting this fight continue and stopped it. Another spectacular victory for MVP.
I actually wanted it to go a little bit better. I thought I could have been a little bit more flashy. No, I'm joking. I'm happy with the way it went. You can't ask for anything better being on a show like this, opening such a big show, and obviously getting the result I wanted. So.
After that, we saw Michael Page in October at Bellator 128. He was up against the American with an interesting name of Nashon Burrell.
Normal everyday person. For me, it's just normal. It's weird to. When I get the criticism, I'm just like, when you meet me, you'll see me. This is why I don't, entertain people's, negative comments. I'm really enjoying myself. I enjoy when people cheer. I enjoy when people boo. I enjoy the whole atmosphere. For me, this is a dream. So I'm just gonna live it to the max. And like I said, whatever makes me happy, music makes me happy, dancing makes me happy. That's what I'm gonna do. Enjoy what you're doing. Yes, it's a tough sport, and it's a very alpha male type sport, and you have to kind of show aggression and stuff, but at the same time you have to enjoy yourself. You have to enjoy what you're doing.
Actually, we should give Venom's opponent credit because he happened to be the first fighter in Page's big and eventful career who managed to go all 3 rounds with him and let the judges deliver the final verdict. Usually, they put their scorecards under the table when Michael enters the octagon, but this time they had to put in some work. All in all, the fight ended with a unanimous decision in favor of our hero, and he improved his record to 7-0. The next time we witnessed MVP was on July 17th of 2015. He featured on the Bellator 140 card in Connecticut, United States, and he was set to fight Rudy Bears.
It's a good matchup. And I'm excited to do it. It's on this new thing for Bellator called the British Invasion, which I'm proud to be a part of. It's a big thing. We're trying to lift and show the world the levels of the Brits nowadays. We're going over. There's 5 of us going over there and 5 top opponents, and we should go there and we should be clearing up. The normal one that comes up a lot anyway is unorthodox. I'd say unique and creative. I don't know, there's just like a spirit within me. It's just very playful. It's like I just love enjoying every moment. You know what I mean? Anytime I'm doing something, especially I'm doing something I love, I don't want to add any stress to it or add any, you know, tension to it. I just want it to be all my memories. Even if I was to lose a fight, I want to go out, but that I was excited with my performance and still put on a show. Like win or lose, you're guaranteed to see me just be like wild.
As soon as the fight started, Venom immediately took over the bigger part of the octagon. Moreover, he began stalking the American and pressing him to the cage. Not wasting too much time, our hero attacked Bears and knocked him down. The American instantly felt Michael's venom. Of course, he managed to get up and even reacted to Page's spinning kick, but in the end, he couldn't offer any resistance to his opponent. After just 1 minute, the Brit attacked his opponent again and finished this fight with a brilliant knockout. He did not even pretend that he wanted to throw follow-up shots. You know, it's like this thing in popular movies. Cool guys don't look at the explosion, and Michael Page doesn't land follow-up shots on his opponents. A great job and artistic celebration after a stunning triumph. A born showman.
I don't know whether it's the fight or I said something wrong to my coach, but he's been trying to kill me in the gym. It's been good anyway. Like I think he's preparing me for not just this fight. It's the one after. It's the belt. It's everything. And everyone's like, oh yeah, are you in training camp? I'm constantly in training camp. I'm never out of it. And I don't understand how people can kind of go in and out of it. This is my passion. I love it. This is something I live. So it's not effort for me in that sense. So yeah, I'm enjoying progressing and being a better me.
Eventually, our very beloved and respected hero went out to delight the fans with a quality performance on October 23rd. He didn't want to sit on the bench for too long, especially given the fact that with Michael Page's approach, he gets injured in training camps more often than in the actual fights. So he is ready to fight almost all the time, and that's another good trait of this guy that we respect him for. And he doesn't drill any specific movements or particular opponents. All of that is already imprinted on his brain. Now, there was only one little thing left: fine-tune the skills and improve them to perfection. Alright, let's not beat around the bush for too long, because we can praise Michael all day. Anyway, he secured himself an opening bout on the main card of Bellator 144, where he faced Charlie Ontiveros.
Yeah, I think when you're the underdog, you're always gonna have that on your side. You can kind of go in there with I don't care attitude, which can sometimes it can shock. You know, you kind of lose respect for the person in front of you, which sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to have no respect for them. You have no fear for them. You just push forward, and you know sometimes that can get the job done. But I think he's more going to be a dangerous fighter. Just because of his unorthodox style as well.
The 9th professional bout of the Englishman presented Venom in a rather different light. Sure, for the bigger part he acted in his usual manner, caught his opponent off guard, disoriented him with unorthodox moves, awkwardly danced and moved as always, but closer to the middle of the first round, he abruptly changed his tactic. Seeing that Ontiveros didn't know how to approach him and get in close range without getting hurt, MVP converged himself. He tied Charlie in a clinch at the fence and after some time took him down. He controlled him there for a while, but at a certain moment he decided to utilize devastating elbows from the top. A ruthless finish from Michael led to Charlie Ontiveros getting slumped out cold and another stoppage victory in the Brit's professional career. Perhaps it's the biggest sign of respect such a fighter as Page could show his opponent, because our hero decided not to tempt fate, changed his approach and got rid of him with a ground game, avoiding the unnecessary danger. Not many were afforded such an honor, you got to agree.
Now your opponent tonight supposedly had a broken jaw, and I guess he was carted off on a stretcher to the hospital. I mean, you're a nice guy. I mean, you have your persona, but at the same time, how does it make you feel when, maybe your opponent ends up in bad shape and he could be healing for some time? Does that even bother you when you're fighting?
No, 100%. I don't wish bad upon anybody, but at the same time, obviously, we both know what we're going in for. It's part of the game. If I could change it and just finish him where he's actually okay, I would. But like I said, it's part of the game, and I just wish him a speedy recovery.
Then comes 2016. Venom's stock continued to grow and gain traction. An undefeated British prospect was becoming not just a decoration of every event he got to compete at. One could say he already was an inseparable part of the promotion and sport in general. On April 22nd at Bellator 153, our hero entered the cage to go against Jeremy Holloway and pull off something spectacular. Because everything spectacular and exceptional, that is Michael. Well, you already know.
I just see it all as competition. Like everyone else picks the names that they class as a step up. So until it's a name that they have heard of or know about, no one ever classes it as a step up. So for me, it's all the same. So like I just see another face, another name, and just try and tick them off. I really don't care who it is. Holloway, Gonzalez, whoever it is, Benson Henderson's there now. Whoever it is, it's just another face. So I just go and do my job, and I enjoy what I do.
Page scored his first knockdown at the second of the fight. This short-sighted citizen rushed at the Brit and ate a vicious straight counter. MVP did not finish the guy off and allowed him to get back to his feet. At first, an agitated Jeremy tried to stalk this dancing and smiling upstart, but it didn't bring him any results. On top of that, he was getting hit increasingly more, which he couldn't react to even if he wanted. After that, he resorted to a forbidden technique. He pressed Page to the fence and kneed him in the groin. But he didn't even realize that he signed his own death sentence. Very soon, fighters got to the ground again. From there, Venom went for the Achilles lock, once again showing the world something new and finishing Holloway in the first round.
Can't kick him. And that's it. He reverse ankle locked him, counter ankle locked him.
Man, I think everyone's going to try and do that. They're going to try and rush me. They don't want me to be able to do what I do in here. So they're going to try and close me down, but I'm always ready, man. It's loaded all the time.
And now the time for jokes was over, because the next matchup we are going to talk about led to our hero's opponent to catastrophic consequences on the verge of death with no exaggeration. On July 16th, Bellator planned to put on its 158th event in the capital of Britain. Of course, an event of such scale couldn't happen without Michael Page, who was the main star of the card, and the arena was packed thanks to him. The opponent of our hero was the Brazilian veteran nicknamed Cyborg in the face of Evangelista Santos. We will ask especially impressionable viewers to get away from the screens because the scene here is quite disturbing.
What can I say, man? I'm crazy excited about this event. I'm definitely going to be putting on the biggest show I've ever put on. And if those that have seen me fight already, every single time I step out there, I'm putting a show. It's hashtag MVP TV. It's always about me, man. I don't care who the main event is. I'm putting on the biggest show when I step out. Everyone's going to be talking about me afterwards. So don't blink, don't miss the show.
The reality is a good fighter, but he never been tested. He never get a punch, real punch.
Now, we'll say that with no exaggeration, every fan of the great sport of MMA and everything related to it has to watch this fight from start to finish. Of course, under the condition that you really love violence and you don't get jarred by terrible injuries. Besides that, it's just a great, vivid and unusual fight that many of you will likely enjoy. It also clearly shows what terrible risks and consequences a decision to follow the fighting code might bring. And we're not talking about such traumas as an ACL tear, but much worse. Even though Venom fought Evangelista Santos for almost 2 rounds, the prospect managed to show himself in front of his home crowd the beauty of his artistic style and wrestling skills. You have to agree, you don't often see MVP working on the ground. But anyway, it's the Brit, and we all know what awaits his opponent in the near future. So we warn you once again, it's about to get brutal. Eventually, in the second round, Page got back to his element. A tactic of taking his opponent down and controlling him there did not work anymore, and the Brazilian had to offer resistance on the feet. Michael constantly pressured him, attacked with kicks to different levels, and baited him in his usual manner. For most of the time, Santos was simply retreating, hoping to land one precise shot, the moment for which did not come, as Page did not stand in one place and tirelessly moved around the octagon. And no wonder. Though Cyborg was a veteran, he was an experienced warrior who could surprise you if he wanted to. But on this night, luck turned its back on him. The British talent was successfully doing his job up until the very end of the round when Evangelista decided to attack, which he could regret for a very long time. Venom's reflexes did not let him down, and Michael Page reacted with a lightning-fast flying knee, which literally cracked the skull of the Brazilian athlete. Nothing else to add here.
Michael Page hit Cyborg Santos with a knee so hard that he fractured his skull.
Ooh, man, that's one of the most insane injuries I've ever seen.
As it turned out a bit later, a crushing flying knee that put an exclamation mark in the flight in London caused a severe injury which shocked even the medical personnel that worked at the event. According to the Brazilian's ex-wife, Chris Cyborg, Evangelista sustained a fracture of the frontal bone. For a while, the medics did not want to operate on the veteran, as they were afraid to exacerbate the continuing brain swelling. Chris Cyborg also posted pictures of her husband and x-rays taken in the hospital. These pictures are truly shocking. And then she made a post on her social media in which she invited the public to pray for his health and asked everybody who cared, including the sponsors, for donations. One of the cut men who examined the cyborg admitted that he saw such injuries only in car accidents, but luckily, over time, everything got better. Doctors put titanium plates into Santos's head, but of course, his fighting career was over.
It was a weird one. It was like, yeah, exactly that. It was kind of I was supposed to be massively excited about it, but then, you know, for a couple of days afterwards, I'll say for about a couple of weeks, because we're still trying to get in touch and worried, more worried still, and yet people are still coming up to me with excitement, and I'm trying to still be excited, but I still in the back of my head being like, oh, well, what's going on with him? I heard he's okay, he's back in training and stuff. And I hope he can get back to fighting.
On November 19th in San Jose, California, Bellator was putting on its 165th event, which was advertised under the banner that Michael Page would get an elite opponent in the face of Fernando Gonzalez. And it was true, the American was a very experienced professional with a record of 25-13 and had a streak of 5 victories. And though his ability to win by stoppages got a bit dull, he was still one of the best fighters in the welterweight division and deserved his spot in the rankings.
I feel this is where fighters go wrong. Exactly what this guy's saying. He likes to chase other people with the hype. How about you learn to not be the underdog? How about you create your own hype? How about you win big fights? How about you do that? Then you won't need to chase people. I don't chase anybody. By defeating you. Anyway, I don't chase anybody. And what he needs to remember is that last fight, that knee, that devastating shot, I trained for him.
So I'm going to start rubbing off names that mean more to everybody else.
Oh, it's over!
Fernando Gonzalez has a name.
As no less beloved and respected Israel Adesanya once said, it takes two to tango. You can't fight a guy who refuses to do anything and only waits out. Even signature baits of MVP did not wake Gonzalez up, who, as he thought, chose the best tactic, to just wait. So, what can we say? He got what he asked for. The judges awarded our hero with a split decision victory. Sure, the fight was quite lackluster, and it's hard to dispute that, but success is never blamed. 12-0, friends, it is what it is. Or more so, many fighters build their whole careers on such performances, while Venom had only one single episode in his career.
Put on the show,
always got people with a high expectation. I think I had a bad day at the office for me in terms of the standard that I normally, strive to push for. But when you're working with someone that's being negative for 10 minutes of the fight, it was very difficult to kind of get anything off. And then the last round, I was a bit disappointed in myself in terms of actually trying to figure out the timing in the fight. But as much as it was a bad day at the office for me in terms of where I know I can be, I still definitely won that fight in terms of scoring 2 rounds to 1. So I really don't understand what this guy was seeing.
Michael Page got an opportunity to get back on track on May 25th of 2018. MVP became a great addition to the anniversary Bellator 200 card, which took place in London. And again, these cards on Venom's home soil couldn't go without the star himself, adored by the local fans. The opponent of our hero happened to be David Rickles. Here's some more information for context. Such a long break was not only related to the fact that Page wanted to become better in training. At that time, there was a terrible incident in one of the schools in Florida, a shooting which took the lives of several people, including Michael's cousin named Helena Ramsey. No point in explaining it further, everything else should be clear.
We do specific foot movement drills, and a lot of the stuff that I've displayed in the foot movement aspect, we do drill. But what usually takes people's attention away is my upper body, and that's more me, and that's what usually, that's where it's a lot harder to read the footwork for fighters as well, because you're always dazzled by the hands moving, the shoulders rolling, my neck, just everything. That's more of a dancing aspect, and that's just more me. I enjoy dancing. It keeps me relaxed. I feel amazing when there's music going on, and I just dance to it. So yeah, that's just more me.
For this whole time, Page's previous performance really bothered him, especially given how much of a perfectionist showman Michael is. That's why his desire to break into action could be seen with the naked eye. The bell rang and the guys met in the center of the ring. The increase in the level of the Brits' opposition was evident compared to Venom's previous opponents. Rickles acted smarter and did not bite on his provocations. Moreover, he adapted to Michael's work in long range and tried to stay at bay himself for retaliation in case he attacked or retreated. But David also did not forget to pressure the Brit so that he wouldn't have too much space for maneuvers and sidesteps. Surprisingly, Page moved as best as he could and avoided dangerous situations, all while peppering David with sudden shots. After 4 minutes, Michael figured that his opponent was not on his speed level and went for an attack. A lightning-fast right straight dropped the American. For the whole last minute, he was applying pressure, and at the last seconds, another attack from Page stunned Rickles again, though it did not lead to a knockdown. Overall, in the next round, Michael continued to taunt and show superiority over his opponent. Half a minute later, another right straight landed on the target and opened a cut above David Rickles' left eye. The fighter figured that he had enough and showed that he was not willing to continue. Thus, Venom scored his 13th professional career victory via TKO.
London! The one and only MVP is back!
Sorry guys, I would like to just dedicate this fight to Helena Ramsey. I know a lot of people heard about the Florida shooting. My little cousin unfortunately died out there and got hit with a bullet, so I just want to dedicate this win to her. I love you, I love the Ramsey family, love everyone. And I've got an amazing team. The London Shoot Fighters, I'm saying to anybody now, any kind of sparring you want, come to London Shoot, we're always ready.
There's not much of an exchange. When you know that if you continue with this fight, it's only going to get worse from there, you wave the white flag, and that's exactly what he did. And my energy back towards him was just the energy of the whole crowd, everything. Nothing personal, obviously he was talking a lot beforehand and it just kind of came out in that moment as a reply, and I was being a bit rude.
Here are a few words to clarify the further situation. Around that time, Michael Page was reaching his peak. not physical, but also mental, and no less importantly, in his case, the peak of his popularity in the media. All these stunts before, after, and during a fight, in combination produced an incredible boost for the promotion of his image and increase of his popularity. One time, he entered a cage with a cap and Pokemon toy, then with an infinity gauntlet, or he just danced and entertained the crowd after he secured a victory by stoppage. Watching such people as MVP, one thinks that they are born with this thing inside them. With this charisma, artistry, desire to entertain the crowd, keep it tense, and stuff like that. We should also not forget that this knee that cracked another fighter's skull is a rare occasion in the world of mixed martial arts. It was sort of a precedent which gave Venom a huge push in becoming a true MMA star. Though vicious, it was still hype, and hype has no smell, it's just the rules of the game. Anyway, let's stop yapping and get back to where we left off. The next performance of the notorious Michael Page happened on February 16th of 2019. He competed at Bellator 216, and not just against somebody, but against one of the heaviest hitters in history, Paul Daley. Yeah, the guy who in his time put on a real war with Nick Diaz in Strikeforce and absolutely amazed Dana White.
He had said something in an interview that I found disrespectful, and that was it. You know, I wanted to fight him straight away from there, near enough, and from there, I was pushing for the fight on social media. He didn't like the way I was doing it, and it just grew from there. And I guess because it took so long for him to accept it, it's grown to what it is now. To prove anything other than just doing the job that I normally do. The same thing could have been said about multiple fighters that I've fought against. So sometimes the win record is not necessarily amazing, but that's all experience. And that's all more experience than I would have had. So a lot of the guys that I've fought have all had a lot more experience than myself. And again, even with the Cyborg, everyone was like, oh, well, this is going to be your first test. And then what happened. And it's like, oh, well, he was a veteran. He's on his way out. And I feel that the same thing's going to happen this time. You know, Paul Daley's a veteran. He's this, he's that. I deal with him in the way I know I can. Then everyone's like, well, he was already on his way out. You know, he wasn't in his prime. And then, well, you need to fight this person next. And it's just going to be the same story over and over again. So, like I said, I'm just enjoying my own journey. I'm just having fun.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it. I can't lie. It's a bit, in all honesty, the reason why it even happened in that way is because he wasn't signing a deal. So he can blame himself again, because if the deal was signed, there would be nothing for me to say. I was doing it because he kept not taking the deal to actually make this fight happen. And that's the only reason I was poking him. I was like, I wanted him to be so furious that he's, okay, let's have this fight. And it felt like if I didn't do that, it wouldn't have happened. So, yeah, blame himself.
Just so you understand, at the time this action was about to take place, there was a welterweight Grand Prix, which was supposed to put the best fighters in the division against each other in the finale with the championship on the line. At that moment, it was the quarterfinals, in which our hero beat a dangerous veteran in every aspect of the fight and took the victory via unanimous decision. No matter how angry Paul Daley was coming into this fight, he couldn't catch an agile and slick Michael and paid for that with his victory.
Still not happy with the performance. I made a lot of mistakes myself. At the same time, I told you guys he was a bit, man. He didn't really want it. He was talking all this stuff about being able to knock me out, and he ran the whole first round. And then all he wanted to do is play groundwork, you know, play wrestling. And like I said, I made a lot of mistakes. This guy's a veteran in terms of the the amount of times he's been in that cage. This is my first 5-rounder, and I was physically better than him, physically stronger than him, still going even in the 5th round, and he was dying. He made some terrible mistakes in the 5th round. That definitely allowed me to kind of regain and capitalize and then take over. But it's been difficult.
Now we have to make a lyrical digression, stopping at the most interesting moment for now. As he was progressing and developing in mixed martial arts, Michael Page managed to find time and desire to practice other sports, boxing to be exact. Here's an example of his professional debut against the Spanish boxer Jonathan Castano. What's especially interesting is that though Venom's arsenal was very limited and he could use only his hands, it didn't affect the Brit's approach and stance at all. The same baits, distance control, taunts, lunging strikes, quick jabs, short combinations, while the opponent was shifting, and provocations, but in the ring, Castano had absolutely no clue how to approach this walking puzzle. That's why he constantly converged and clinched with MVP, amusing him with his helplessness. With every round, Page was applying increasingly more pressure on Jonathan.
Landing a good right hand, MVP. And again, that's why the shots are so difficult to read, reminiscent of a manual.
And his smile was getting bigger, which promised nothing positive for the poor Spanish. His face already got red from punches, while Michael was only getting started. In the end, it led to Venom knocking him out in the first minute of the third round.
Oh, what a right hand! And down goes Castano.
Castano wanted to continue, but the referee was adamant. He saw his condition after he went down and did not allow him to keep fighting. That's how our hero had a boxing debut on the professional level. But it's not the only performance of MVP in the world of boxing. Later, he had an opportunity to share the ring with the Pole named Michał Chach. It might sound strange, but after watching this fight multiple times, we had a feeling that Page acted as if he already smelled the blood of his opponent. We know that it's crazy, but we really thought that. The fight just began, and Michael already acted like a predator who wounded its prey and stalked it by the trail of blood. The entire first round can be described with one word: bullying. Venom was beating the Pole up, openly taunted him, not hiding joy on his face. And at the last minute, he ultimately knocked him down.
In his favor as he stands Chach to the canvas.
Even the commentators noted his unusual and unorthodox style, not hiding excitement in their voices. And the next round ended almost immediately. The very first straight from MVP slumped Michał,
That could well conclude this contest right here in round number 2.
taking away his ability to get up in the given 10 seconds. Second win in boxing and second knockout. Now, let's get back to MMA.
Him is gonna be different for sure. Expect a lot more excitement. I'm gonna attack. Not just gonna sit back. And I can't wait, man. This is an interesting fight. I've been looking for a fight like this for a long time. He's still, MVP, but he's still undefeated. He's still dangerous. Not looking past him, but I'm very excited to get in there.
After securing a win in the quarterfinals, our hero went to the semis. It happened on May 13th of 2019 at Bellator 221. Our hero's opponent was one of the scariest Brazilians in the organization and mixed style in general, Douglas Lima.
It's weird, I was actually like, this one I'm definitely going to be the underdog, because how established Douglas Lima is. Weirdly enough, I don't believe I am, because I checked on a couple of things before, but I don't know, I think it's because I'm probably more popular, because just more promotion-wise, I push myself a bit further out to the fans that don't really know enough about the mixed martial arts to know Douglas Lima. And Douglas Lima is a bit more of a tame character, a bit more relaxed, so is not necessarily the easiest to market, and he doesn't necessarily care to market himself.
The main event in the May card was put on full display for the viewers of Illinois. On one side, a cocky and undefeated bully, and also one of the main showmen in the history of the sport, and on the other, arguably the most terrifying fighter in the history of the promotion. The first round of such a promising bout was quite typical, if we're talking about Venom's style, of course. Page turned his imagination and versatility up to the max literally from the very start, because he knew the level of danger he was up against. As for Lima, at first he was catching the Brit with occasional kicks and singular attacks. In other words, both guys felt the threat coming from each other. That's why they didn't rush. The first half of the round unfolded on the feet, like on a minefield where both guys were scared to blow up due to a wrong move. And the second half was safer for the Brazilian Venom, because Douglas held Michael Page down until the end of the round. The next round started in almost the exact same way, except for one little moment. It was all over in just half a minute.
Quite at 100%. Oh, and there. What a shot by Lima! Mamma mia! Douglas Lima has just defeated Michael Venom Page!
After catching MVP doing a bunny hop in close range, Lima swept his leg and landed a kill shot straight on his chin. That's how Douglas Lima became the first and only fighter who managed to finish Michael Page. And with this performance, our hero showed that he not only wins but also loses in extremely spectacular fashion.
Of course, it feels right now, that's the top highlight of my career. You know, I think this was the biggest fight, you know, the one that I've been in, and said it before, I was gonna finish it, you know, went in there and executed. So really happy with the performance and moving on to the finals.
At the time, no, didn't know what happened. Just had to watch it back. It was more my mistake in how I got up. I think I was getting a bit too much success, and it just boosted my confidence. And so after I got down, you know, when I was on my back the first round, I was like, even when I was controlling his wrist, and I was like, he can't do anything on the floor even. So on the way in, on one of my shots, he's one of his leg kicks, I slipped. And instead of just settling on the floor, I'm like, you know, I'm just going to get back up and carry on fighting. Stood straight back up, and it was a very accurate punch.
The first career loss did not affect our hero at all. He knew that the best cure for mental blocks a fighter might experience after the first setback, and by a knockout, is hard work. And he got back to training as soon as possible. And that, in turn, promised big troubles for the guy who would fight the Brit next. Page did not want to sit on the bench for too long. He entered the octagon already on September 27th at Bellator 227. His opponent, and therefore the object of taunts and a punching bag, happened to be the Irish fighter Richard Kiley.
The thing is, I can never answer that until after the fight in terms of, is it one of the easiest opponents? I've had a lot of fights where, you know, it appears easy. You always have to put in work. Any kind of fight you have to take seriously as much as they are trying to finish the fight. So you have to take them seriously. But I know my ability, and I've seen his ability, and I just see it as like a sparring session, you know what I mean? And even when if you come to sparring in London Shoot, it's a war there anyway. So as much as it's a sparring session, I still gotta be on point.
I was like, if you're seriously gonna pay me what you pay me to fight this guy, then why not? It's an extra payday, and one for the fans. So I actually always wanted to come and fight in Dublin as well. Got some amazing fans over here, so why not? That's it, really.
Well, I think a point of order. He actually asked for the fight. So he actually asked for the fight. So don't be telling lies, Pinocchio.
Rich has been saying he's got a KO in him. What do you think of that?
He tapped to a submission I wasn't even on. What the f*** are you talking about? He ain't got shit in you.
To be honest, we don't really know what Kiley was hoping for, because he was absolutely a no match to Venom in terms of experience, skills, confidence, and any other criteria. Anyway, let's get straight to the point. The fight began with usual pressure and unorthodox baits from Page. For 1 minute straight, MVP was letting the Irishman know that he wasn't ready for what he himself was talking about. He was baiting him and tried to provoke an attack. In the end, these taunts only led to a middle finger and a pause from the referee. When the fight resumed, Michael decided to act and went forward himself. He got tired of waiting for a restrained Richard Kiley to react and began attacking. Soon, the poor guy found himself on the canvas. Venom turned up and added control and ground and pound to his taunts. However, the referee did not let him enjoy his superiority on the ground, taking away the point from the Brit for pretending to take a selfie. When the fighters continued to scrap, enraged Michael figured that he needed to win by a stoppage so there wouldn't be any questions. He perfectly timed the right moment and threw a flying knee. After which he celebrated the victory in his usual manner. He mimicked the groggy mode, flowing into a dance, and bounced back from his loss to Douglas Lima.
Dublin! I am so excited. I wish I could have done some more for you guys. I'm so excited to be here. You guys are amazing.
I don't care who. I just want to get another fight in, and in front of my crowd, blow the roof off, and just move on and try and get that Lima fight.
As history taught us, Michael Page was honest with the media and other journalists, even with those who had the balls to call him a train wreck after the first loss in his career. And speaking about being honest, he really said the truth that he was willing and ready to enter the octagon as frequently as possible. If you were attentive this whole time, you might notice that the next fight we are going to talk about took place on November 23rd of 2019, which means that it was already a fourth bout of our hero in 2019. And Venom did not want to stop on that. The numbered event in London featured a clash between MVP and a fighter named Giovanni Melillo. As soon as the fight started, Michael, boosted with the fan support, rushed at the Italian. Besides his common maneuvers that the fans adored him for, it was clear that the Brit was hungry for a flashy victory. That's why he was attacking more often than usual. He literally went after Giovanni, discouraging his opponent. Such an approach caught Melillo off guard right from the start, due to which he had absolutely no clue of how to respond to that. Soon, a couple of landed shots were complemented by a front kick and a right straight, while the fighter from Italy was only retreating. Only a minute and 47 seconds later did he decide to attack. However, Venom read his intention and reacted with a counter a lot faster. 107 seconds and a cold knockout in the first round in front of a home crowd. That's the kind of a return everybody was expecting from Michael Page. Only this caliber of a performance could change the opinion of even the most cynical critics about this guy and restore his reputation in the MMA world. But there's a lot more, guys. The one and only was not willing to rest on his laurels.
I've heard about the audiences over here anyway, and my goal, because I've heard, it's almost like a tennis match over here. They're very appreciative of individual acts of good performances and martial arts demonstration. So then they applaud it, and then it goes silent again, and you're in an arena with like 37,000 people, but you can hear your coach, you can just hear everything supposedly. And my goal is to I should be doing so much crazy stuff that these guys can't stop applauding. There's just keep them as the most active you've ever heard it. So that's my goal.
What do you think? Did Michael Page dare to fight for the 5th time in 2019? Sure did. He had a bout on December 29th, and not just somewhere, but in the very heart of Japan at Bellator 237. In our humble opinion, what we said earlier is already enough to realize that this man is incredible. And as you understand, the reason why he flew out to Saitama is that he was set to face the local opponent in Shinso Ansai. The animal's record was 11-3, and he was a seasoned warrior who preferred to finish his victims. In his best traditions, an incredible style of our hero began to shine right with the bell. While the Japanese tried to act more conventionally, not only in terms of martial arts, but also visually, meaning that he was moving towards his opponent with his hands up like fighters actually should, Venom acted absolutely freely. One could say that he was doing whatever he wanted. Michael was running, jumping, swinging his limbs, attacked, pressured as the first number, or intentionally backed up and defended, showing Ansai like, "You're trying to adapt? Keep trying." But how are you going to do that if I don't do the same thing twice and act so unpredictably that I confuse even myself? The only thing that tended to repeat itself in this fight was Michael's flying knees, which Shinsho tried to take advantage of with a takedown attempt. But in reality, he was simply wasting his precious energy. Think about it. If in the beginning of the fight, the Japanese fighter was significantly inferior to our hero in such aspects as power, speed and reaction, what is going to happen when he gets tired? Here's what. Watch. By the end of the first round, MVP already shed his opponent's blood and smashed half of his face with a couple of heavy shots.
Stutter step. Remember what I said about playing? There's a knee again. Every time, John, as he's...
In the second, it got only worse for Ansai. In less than half a minute, another deadly counterattack from the Brit put the Japanese down for good.
It is all over! Just like that!
Another knockout and a performance that deserves to be rewatched by descendants in the future. And of course, Michael couldn't help but take advantage of the circumstances and put on an Akatsuki cape, being in Japan.
Thank you so much for having me here. This is the best arena I've ever been in front of. You guys are amazing. This is a dream come true. Thank you.
Man, you know what? It was before anything. I walked into the arena just to check out the place. I was watching the lights go and just got a different sense of energy, man. It was amazing. Like, yeah, it lifted me in a different way. You know, because of the time difference, it's still kind of like sometimes offset. But the second I walked into the arena, I was awake, and that's before warming up. That's before, you know, getting G'd up myself. I just looking at the lights and the cage and how everything was unbelievable. And then when I stepped in there, just feels at home, man. It felt great. It felt great.
5 fights in 2019 gave a significant boost to MVP's career, and one can't deny it. But it also really exhausted him. We don't really need to explain it, you understand it yourself. No system can withstand perpetual training, and we know that Michael always trains at a high level. And the COVID outbreak also put the sport and events on hold, which should be considered as well. That's why our hero took a short break up until October 10th of 2020. On that very date, he returned to the octagon to fight a young prospect named Ross Houston, whose record was 8-0. And the fight took place at Bellator 248.
Unfortunate side effect to my style, and I've said this from a long time ago, because if I beat all the exact same people that I've beaten so far, but in a very different, more generic style, where it's a bit more of a back and forward, you know, I get hit a couple of times and, you know, I get rocked and I come back, and people would just label me, oh yeah, this guy's a great fighter, he's tough, and I wouldn't have that kind of, oh, he's fighting cans appeal. But because of my style, I make really good opponents look very mediocre, which is great entertainment wise. It's great for me as a fighter because I'm able to keep really safe and still be devastating. But that's as I said, there's a side effect to that where people just don't believe in the opponents that I have. Unless they're, you know, really high, you know, named opponents. I'm talking from my first ever MMA fight. People were trying to match me up against Anderson Silva and GSP and like people like that, and immediately, and I've barely done 6 months of jiu-jitsu. So that just shows you, like I said, the effect of my style.
Michael Page is a very distinctive and rare gem because he stands out from the pack not only thanks to his approach to the craft and its exceptional demonstration. There are no questions about his image, but he is also different from others in terms of his mentality. He doesn't care about titles or universal recognition and fame so that everybody could hang on his every word and adore him. First and foremost, he is a performer, a born master of martial arts who passionately wants to entertain the fans with what he is capable of. His drive to bring something new into the game is stronger than all the plans and goals which every fighter in MMA or any other combat sport has. That's why he can sacrifice a title shot or a finish if that would look too easy for the sake of a quality and spectacular performance, not caring about records and opinions of onlookers who follow a primitive logic. You didn't finish him because you weren't able to. Anyway, we're saying all of that because Michael Page got the win via unanimous decision and shattered the perfect record of a former Cage Warriors champion in the conclusion of 3 rounds.
I always say I'm not here to try and prove to people that I am a mixed martial artist. I'm here to win fights in the fashion that I would like to win fights, and it just wasn't in that fashion. So this is why I'm heavily critical of my performance. As everybody knows, I love to put on a show. I think this was a landmark event, and I really wish I was able to execute what I wanted to do.
On May 7th of 2021, Venom was looking to come back to Bellator 258, which was happening in Connecticut. Many people wondered why such a charismatic, artistic, and truly exciting athlete is still not part of the UFC. The answer to this question is as simple as can be. Michael was interested in the rematch with Douglas Lima. After all, it was the only fighter in MMA who beat him, managed to catch him and send him to the Shadow Realm. The competitive spirit inside Page made him sit and wait for the opportunity to avenge himself, and for that, he needed to continue performing and securing victories. so he went up against Derek Anderson in the spring of 2021.
Ideally, it'd be the fastest knockout in Bellator history. I don't get paid for overtime, so I want to go in there and just finish the job real quick. I'm gonna fight with a slightly different intensity level for this fight. So yeah, I do want to get in there and just get, like, I want it to be a bank robbery, in and out.
Watching this fight, it felt like Michael Page fought an amateur who found out the name of his opponent just yesterday. This fight lasted for all 5 minutes of the first round, but the interesting thing here is that for this time, Venom got hit with only a couple of low kicks, while Derek took a huge amount of damage. Besides the fact that MVP, of course, was better than Anderson in every aspect. Closer to the end of the first round, all of that turned into a ruthless outclass. As soon as the face of this heavy bag met with a sharp side kick from Page, it became clear that the end was near. Sure, the guy managed to make it to the bell, but his battered face and viciously broken nose made the doctors stop this beatdown. Another dominant victory by a stoppage, and a 5th in a row, by the way, since the loss to the Brazilian Venom.
Can you explain the walkout with no music, and is that something we're going to see again in the future?
Again, same thing I said to Mr. Big John McCarthy inside the cage. When the fans come back, the entertainment comes back. But until then, I'm not afraid. I put on a show every time I get in the cage anyway. Like I said, so when the cameras are on, everyone at home is going to accept it. But there's no atmosphere here. Obviously, the staff and everyone, you guys being here is great. It's just not the same. You know what I mean? Obviously, everyone's under such strict rules and strict management and what we can and can't do. When everything comes back to normal, you'll see, I'm going to do some big stuff.
As you might have already guessed, our hero got what he wanted. Even though he was the #1 contender for the welterweight championship, Michael Page preferred to have a rematch with Douglas Lima rather than some title shot. It was important for him to clash in the octagon with this guy again and prove that he got a lot better since his previous performance and that he was better than the Venom in particular. Bellator 267 gave him this chance on October 1st of 2021.
So for me, the thing that people haven't seen, because I wasn't really under the spotlight, is years in kickboxing, and I remember probably a period of about 4 years straight. I remember literally every competition. I was doing competitions near enough every weekend. Every competitions for about 4 years, I'd get my ass handed to me. I was getting beaten up left, right, and center, and I had to keep going back to the competition because my family was going back. The team's going back. You had to be there. I got used to losing, and every single person that beat me, eventually I figured a way out to get back to them, beat them, and then they never beat me again. So it just felt the same. Again, because I'm kind of used to losing like that. When I took the loss, it means more to other people because of the 0. But for me, it's like, I'm just going to get you back. And this is the time for me to show that.
Like I said, it's a different fight, but I always feel better, when I fought somebody before. It gets you know a lot more about him, the way he moves, what he's good at, what he's not so good at. So I'm sure there's, I'm 100%, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to do different, you know what I mean? We study, coach knows, what else, what's the best weapons, what else we gotta change, and but we're ready, man. We're ready. We're prepared. We train really hard for this, and about to deliver another big knockout.
Venom had a great showing in the rematch against one of the best Brazilians in the world's 2nd best league. In the very first round, he surprised his opponent with an unorthodox movement and sudden attacks. In just half a round, MVP dropped him twice. The former champion decided not to take risks and took the Brit down. He held stubborn Michael down on the canvas, feeling an evident danger, and waited for the bell. In the next round, Page continued to circle around the Brazilian like a shark in the deep and occasionally attacked him from different ranges. What confused Lima the most was these dancing moves and feints, which over time transformed into shots from various angles. For now, Lima doesn't understand how to deal with quick and prepared Venom. In the final round, Venom worked from a safe distance, but in a way that Lima could still feel the danger. In more than 2 minutes, the Brit dropped the Brazilian again with a lunge out of nowhere. Lima didn't come up with anything better than taking Michael down again. He held him there till the final bell and raised his hands as a sign of victory. But the reality wasn't on his side. In the end, all the action resulted in a split decision and Michael Page got the win, avenging his loss.
It was amazing. You know how I am, and I said I've spoken to all of you guys before. I'm petty. I know what I could have done. I know, and I was right there every single time. I don't know how many times I rocked him with an elbow, rocked him with a couple of right hands. I was there a few times. I know a few more things, and I push him right over the edge, and he doesn't get back up. He's a tough man, like 100%, like very tough man. There's some of those shots I know a lot of people wouldn't even go up from. Like I'd even cut. I mean, damn, that's tough. But yeah, I'd run that back. I'd happily run that back, and I need to prove it.
After that, one could say that our hero's career in Bellator was coming to its end. And we're not basing that only off Wikipedia and seeing that he had only 2 fights left. It's because Michael Page achieved everything he wanted. The organization did not give him the 3rd fight with Douglas Lima. Instead, they put the Brit against Logan Storley in May of 2022 for the interim championship. It might have been divine intervention or fate. You can call it whatever you want, but somehow Venom lost to the American fighter via split decision. However, he did not feel sad for too long. The one and only MVP decided to try himself in the Bare Knuckle League, BKFC. On August 20th, Page faced the unforgettable Mike Perry. This dogfight, we can't describe it any other way, was amazing. Bloody, with swollen and tired faces, cuts just like the way we like it. In the very first round, Perry managed to catch Venom's chin and made the referee count the knockdown. After that, our hero kind of bounced back and gave Mike a proper whooping, and in the conclusion of 5 rounds, the judges ruled it a majority draw. Given that, the promotion delighted the fans with happy news that to identify the winner, fighters would have to go an extra round. The guys were fighting at their last gasps, exhausted, beaten up, but ready to go to the bitter end. And after 2 extra minutes, Mike Perry ultimately snatched the split decision victory, while Michael Page gained valuable experience and presented himself to the fans in a new light. His last fight in Bellator took place on March 10th of 2023. The British star performed at Bellator 292, where he faced the seasoned Japanese Goichi Yamauchi.
Aggressive and throws big shots, but it's just very predictable. There's no real combinations and things that put together well, in my opinion. The thing is, I'm sure he's got the most submissions in Bellator as well.
Yes, he's got the most in Bellator history. That's right.
So he's like you said, that's where he's going to be best.
The Japanese fighter presented an exciting challenge for a mature Brit, especially given his experience and a winning streak, which quickly put him up in the division's rankings. Before the fight, people talked about a title shot for both guys in case of a victory over each other. However, these talks were put aside as soon as the octagon door was locked. Everything started in Michael's usual manner, a signature side stance and constant feints. The first attack on that night was Venom's low kick. A few seconds later, MVP landed on the Brazilian's leg again, and the fight was over. Yes, it's not a joke, we really mean it. After the second low kick from the veteran, the fight was immediately stopped. It turned out that the Brit hit Yamauchi's kneecap, fractured it, and tore his ligaments. A TKO in 26 seconds, friends. Say what you want, but Venom knows how to impress. Blinking while watching his fights is strongly forbidden.
What it is, for me, I work hard to be here, man. I'm dynamic. I know it looks like it comes easy, but I'm busting my ass every single day in the gym just to put on a show for everybody here, and I hope I did that. I know it was short, but I hope I did that still.
Transition to the UFC.
It's been a bit surreal. There's just moments of excitement, like, oh my God, I'm at the UFC. Moments of just feeling normal again and just kind of getting to work, being a bit more inspired in training. And yeah, there's ups and downs in a good way, all in a positive way. So I'm just excited to be out here.
The long-awaited debut of Michael Page in the UFC happened on March 9th of 2024. He was given an honor to perform at UFC 299 and put him against Kevin Holland, another very charismatic fighter who generates a lot of interest and is in good standing with the promotion.
All I can say right now is, wow, the passion in here is crazy. Wow. I just want to say, UFC has a new MVP.
Watching Michael in his debut, which later turned into thousands of highlight reels on the internet, it was clear that he was really enjoying the fact that he joined the UFC. He showed his best, and despite his age, he did everything to make Holland look like a novice in this game. Kevin was completely disoriented, totally broken down and humiliated, because Venom prepared for him such puzzles in the striking technique that Holland ultimately couldn't solve them even till this day.
This is where I'm supposed to be. Anybody that doubted that I was supposed to be here, you can see it for yourself. And I just want to say, thank you Miami for having me. You guys are amazing.
What drew more attention than the actual fireworks in the octagon was Michael Page's walkout to the octagon as an Undertaker. And we specifically talk about it after the fight to highlight this moment. And the next opponent of our hero was not just somebody, but at the time undefeated Irish prospect Ian Garry. As you all know, not that long ago, Mr. Machado lost his 0 in the loss column, but he had a razor-close fight with Shavkat Rakhmonov, one of the title contenders in the near future. So one shouldn't doubt the level of skill.
All I know is the one only MVP is here now at the UFC.
You're never fighting again
and I'm about
after
to
this
make
fight.
some noise.
You and your jiu-jitsu coach are getting suspended for life.
Fighters had some animosity based on the information from Ian Garry that Michael Page's coaches tried to sneak into his camp to nose out what kind of work he is putting in his preparation. That was the basis for all this hate at the press conferences. But it's not why we're here today. We'll just say that the Irishman managed to outplay the veteran in the conclusion of 15 minutes due to his wrestling-heavy approach and beat Venom via unanimous decision.
In all honesty, I always blame myself. I wasn't at my best. And weirdly enough, the first time I watched it back was today. I actually did like a reaction video to it today. Obviously, I wanted to kind of just focus on just enjoying my holidays and travels. And literally the first time I've actually watched it today.
After a performance in June, Michael Page took some time off, during which he did a lot of stuff. First of all, he rested, and it's a very important process that was only of benefit to him. But most importantly, he got married, and this event also slightly delayed his return to the main octagon. Happy news about Venom's next fight came closer to the end of 2024. We found out that MVP would fight Shara Magomedov on February 1st in Saudi Arabia. A 37-year-old Brit was set to clash with a tough Dagestani pirate in the middleweight division.
I think he's going to go, and do. I don't think he's going to game plan anything specific for me outside of what everybody likes to, want to do. Is like, oh, just kick his leg, and they think it's as simple as just doing that. So I feel like he's going to be confident in his style, that it's going to be enough to work even against me. But when I'm in front of him is when he may have to second guess a few things. But is it an exceptional style? Yes. Have I seen it many times before? Yes.
A dangerous Dagestani, who by the way became the first UFC fighter to knock his opponent out with a double fist, got completely destroyed by Michael Page. Venom literally took him to school of mixed martial arts. Or to be exact, to a school of striking mastery. Magomedov looked like a helpless rookie in everybody's eyes. Even despite the change of the division, Venom showed the best of his style and totally nullified a vicious striker from Dagestan.
There is an effect of being in the UFC, the magnitude of UFC brand, the event. I think that's what's kind of still weighing on me a little bit, and it's making me a little bit more hesitant, whereas before when I was at Bellator, there was no hesitation. I was in there, I was very sure of myself, but I don't know if it's I'm wanting it too much, or I'm second guessing myself. I don't know what it is, but there is definitely a UFC effect, but the more comfortable I get, the more you're going to see the old MVP.
Epilogue.
For me, I like to separate the two. So MVPs when I need him.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
The alter ego.
But then it's just me. I'm much Michael Page. I like to chill, just be myself, be goofy, just be playful, funny. So I never know when I meet certain fighters, sometimes they still try to hold that kind of, you know, that kind of energy of like,
I know.
I'm just trying to I'm just going to be myself.
Ladies and gentlemen, right in front of you is a living legend, a man who rewrites the laws of mixed martial arts with every outing in the cage. Michael Venom Page is a fighter who turned an octagon into his stage and strikes into art. His name is a synonym to spectacle, artistry, and outrageousness. And as long as his gloves makes a fist, history continues to be made. He's not just a fighter, he is a visionary whose fights break the boundaries of the sport, becoming a show where triumph is measured not only with victories but also with goosebumps on the millions of fans. His style? It's chaos wrapped into elegance, strikes that come from the shadows and feints that hit the soul harder than the body. His every scrap is a defiance to reality. He doesn't attack, he paints a surreal picture in the air. MVP wears a mask of a jester, but in his eyes burns the fire of a genius. His walkouts to the arena is a manifest. Outfits that break all the cannons. Smile that hides a storm. He taunts, provokes, makes fun of rules, but in a decisive moment, he shoots like a sniper. And that's his power. He makes the world wait for the miracle, and then delivers. And yes, his legacy has already gone down in history. But can we really talk about his legacy when his journey is not over yet? So many knockouts, dances, challenges, and we still can't get enough of it. Page doesn't leave a mark, he burns out the path that would be taken by the future generations of fighters who want to not just fight, but amaze. Michael Page is not a survival of times past, he is the present that becomes the future. He is like a shooting star that continues to fly, illuminating MMA with its bright light. And when he is in the octagon, we know everything is possible. That a fight can be a fight and a ballet. And that a triumph is not a decision of the judges, but an astonishment of the crowd that screams, "How did he do that?" Thank you, Venom. You are a reminder that sport can be a high art, and that power without imagination is just half of the path. And as long as your feet dance and fists make history, we will watch, holding our breath, because your song is not over, and this means that the most exciting things are ahead.
Look at me. Look at me. I am the captain now.